the intro music. Yeah! Woo!
Welcome back, Star Trek Fleet Commanders, and today I want to talk about a ship that many of you should be preparing for. And when I say many of you, I'm talking a lot about the players who are going up into the 40s, much as I have at level 49. In fact, as of the time of me making this video, there are over 9,800 players at level 49. For perspective, that's right around the exact same amount of players that are between level 50 and level 56. So there's a lot of y'all who are getting up into the high 40s, especially free to play. You need to start planning on where you're going. And part of that planning immediately comes to ships. What's the first ship that I should be focusing on? Everybody's getting dreams of Northcuts and Corvuses, and nothing wrong with that, especially since you should be going for the Vorchak because it's Klingon and it's beautiful. But all that aside, the first ship you need to be focusing on is actually your Nova. So that's going to be today's video about the Nova. Now, the Nova is unlocked at Distinguished, which is 1.1 billion reputation. So 1,100,000,000, you can start pulling it. Now, the cool thing about the Nova right here is that you can actually pull it from all three factions. So whether you are Federation, Klingon, Romulan, any of them that are at 1.1 or higher, you can start pulling Nova blueprints. Now, we are still waiting for the dev team to put 5-star ships in the away team spot. So the only way to get it from a faction store is through here, though I will remind you, and just please be warned to take this with a grain of salt, chat. Please don't come into the comments talking about how terrible or impossible this is. If you are looking to grind Nova BPs, starting with the 53 plus freebooter hostiles as an example, you have a chance of Nova BPs dropping there. So if you're doing your dailies and say, hey, my ships are getting pretty big, my Pylon, my Newton, maybe you've picked up a Hegta at level 50 or something like that. Going into these, you have a chance of Nova blueprints dropping. And as you go into deeper space, in the deeper ranges of 5-star, some of that chances as well. Like you got that up there. But early on, most people can reach these because the warp ranges on them are pretty dang low. 160 in today's game is a pretty dang low warp range by comparison's sake to everything that we have coming out, like the Voyager and the Monavine, etc. So just something to keep in mind. Chances for Nova BP. So why would you want the Nova is probably question numero uno on your chart. Well, to do that, let's actually take a look at all the different ships that are going to be becoming available to you as you level up. Now, this is part of our ops progressions chart. If you haven't seen it, I guess I can relink it in the comment section, but it's in my Discord. So if you haven't joined the Discord, again, another shameless plug for Rev's Discord. So this is part of the master ops chart where we actually talk about where to camp, why to camp. It does need a little bit of updating, but Jules does a fantastic job with updating this chart, and I need to do my updates as well too. But as you can see at 52 right down there, the Nova unlocks so that you can build it, as well as tearing up your Hegtai, Enterprise A, Tribune, etc., then working towards the Northcutt, Corvus, and the Vorcha. You'll also notice that at 52, though, we're looking at your Defiant being at tier 10. You're looking at your Talios being at tier 10. And you've hopefully maxed out your Mantis by now, which you'll do at level 50-ish, and maxing out your Mantis is more sync at XP. But that's a different conversation for a different video. Today, we're focusing on the Nova and what makes the Nova good. And as you can see, the mining aspect of it is the easiest miner to get to. Think of it like the old school days of having a Horizon without having to invest in crazy cost amounts. Because getting into 5-star, believe it or not, the ships are cheaper in 5-star than in 4-star, which is actually a really, really good thing. And a really, really good, it's not even a problem, it's just a really good fact. But anyway, real quick transition. Here's a Nova at tier 3. Now, why do I pick tier 3? Because one, tier 3 is really cheap to get to. If you look here in the uncommon survey parts, you don't need a ton. This is base cost. This does not count any researches or anything that could apply. Your uncommons and then your refined crystal down here. Now, it will be a little bit of a crystal hog early on, but trust me, it's worth it. Why is it worth it? Well, number one, yes, you're going to have an immediately beefy ship. Even a basic Nova is tough for my Talios to take down without a pure PvP crew. Y'all see me all the time going around pirating and gallivanting around OPC space, and what do y'all see on stream? When I see a Nova, because my Talios is loaded out for full cargo, I avoid it. Tier 1 Novas come out, start looking at 20 million power plus. They are beefy, they are strong, they are scary, and they will put a hurting on you. So the big advantage you have just unlocking the Nova, not even if you did anything with it, just simply having a Nova, depending on what level of player you are, what tier you're at, and all those different things, you could very well have an extremely powerful ship. How extremely powerful? Well, again, I just said 20 million, and that's a low end number. How about I show you a tier 1? You want to see a tier 1 Nova? Here's a tier 1 Nova. That's a tier 1 Nova. Now that's for a level 57 account, but it's basically 40 million power. And while we talk all the time that power alone in this game does not necessarily mean anything. Like, power alone is not going to make or break a ship. It does not determine whether a ship is good or bad, but power does matter because power is translated by things like your hull health and everything. And you just simply got to be able to get past that. So what we're talking about when we're talking about going after this big Nova is, even at tier 3, is cheap to get to. And then number 2, mining laser speed, as you can see, is faster than my Hydra. So looking at that mining speed, you go, hey, that's actually not a bad mining speed. But you'd have to have something to compare that to. Well, good thing that I do. So here's my tier 7 Hydra that I got for free from grinding in Soul. And here is its mining laser of 2200%. Max cargo with the standard crew 9.4, and then 300,000 protected cargo. Now the base, remember, when we're looking at these type of comparisons, these are base numbers. It does have worse cargo than my Hydra, but the big key though is warp range. My Hydra maxed out at warp 160, whereas at tier 3, this Nova's at warp 275. Why does that matter? Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you get to level 53, you're going to want to eventually unlock those super highways, which you see the red lines there preparing you for that. But let's just go ahead and look out in those spaces. So take this one for example. Actually, I'm going to use Romulan because I actually have explored some of the Romulan ones. For example, you got this node right here, which is 185. My Hydra's not reaching that without greatly investing in my Hydra. But what about going out all the way to here? Well, that's warp 255. And then what about over here? Well, that's warp 285. And yet, if I simply had this, I could reach there. Now you're going, well, hold on, Rev. 285 and 275 are different. Don't forget, by the time you're here, you're going to have done the Angel in Disguise mission, things like that. So you're going to have better warp range than stock warp range, right? So even if all you do is the Angel in Disguise missions, just go ahead and add a 15 to that, you are going to have more warp range to reach deeper nodes. So you're going to have less people who can reach you. And even if they can, it's going to take mostly a G5 ship to move you off, or a very, very good PvP loaded out 4-star ship, Pylum, Coronar, etc. But then it's going to have to contend with the warp range of, can that Pylum, Coronar, etc. get out there? Speaking of someone with a Coronar, the answer is no. I can't. That's a tier 7 Coronar. Cannot reach. How about a tier 9 Pylum? Can my tier 9 Pylum make it out there? No, it cannot. So then you're simply getting a built-in safety net to do your mining. Now, I'm not one that usually highlights and talks very highly of mining, because y'all know that it is not a very exciting part of the game for me. But the truth is that this is a very valuable ship. Now, it can be costly to upgrade. The highest I would ever recommend a Nova going is tier 8. After tier 8, it starts wanting epic materials, and anything epic needs to get thrown into your faction ships, whether it's the Sanctus, the Enterprise D, the Rotaran, whatever. And I really wouldn't even press you to be using this. I would honestly invest my Nova and simply focus on the uncommon side of the Nova. And this is also a great opportunity for those players who have actually gone up in these levels to chime in the comment section. How high would you recommend players taking the Nova? The great thing about the Nova is, even at tier 1, it comes out strong and ready to go with good warp range. This is, you can start going after your G5 mining. You can also actually mine Isogen at a relatively good speed due to it having such a nice mining laser, even at the early levels. So as you're prepping and you're a player in the mid-late 40s, you're thinking ahead about where I need to go. Well, part of what you need to start thinking about is the Nova as the ship to focus on, not focusing in on your main one. So here's the master op sheet, and you'll notice that if you look at my recommendation, I talk about slowing, because get to 50, it's easy to get to 51. Your reward improvements, pay attention to pack improvements, but then you want to basically skip 52, but don't forget the Nova, and then I would have you camp at 53, Jules in blue, or at 54, me and K92 are at 60 or at 53. Either way, the first ship you want to get is definitely the Nova. It's going to be a great change for you, and it's honestly just going to make you a stronger player and let you do more in the game. And that's my basic synopsis about the Nova. One of the most undervalued ships in the game, simply because we get so enamored, mostly we're forced to by Scopely, with specialty ships and things like this. But when I look at like tier 3 ships in the game, tier 3, this is one of the most valuable tier 3s that exist, period, hands down, bar none. Would I rather have a tier 3 Nova or a tier 3 Vorcha? I'd rather have a tier 3 Nova. Now, I'd rather have a tier 7 Vorcha than a tier 7 Nova. But we talk all the time about how early ships just don't really feel super useful. Well, early Novas are super useful, and that's very nice. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, if you have any comments that you'd like to add, feel free, and make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Love you. Deuces. That's me. Live long and plunder. Stay safe for those space cowboys. Catch you on the next Star Trek Fleet Command video and live stream. Just tomorrow, basically every day. Who even knows?
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.